Your adult years present challenges no generation before you has ever faced. Work demands, family responsibilities, lifestyle pressures that never seem to let up. Dr. Vic Naumov calls it a perfect storm, one that targets your spine and nervous system with relentless precision. Welcome back to You Are the Medicine, the audiobook by Dr. Vic Naumov. Copyright 2025. All rights reserved. This is episode 8. Today, we're talking about peak performance and reclaiming the vitality you thought aging had taken from you. Hit like, drop a comment, and let us know where you're tuning in from, and share this with someone who needs to hear it. Subscribe and turn on that notification bell. We're just getting started. Let's begin. Now, let's step into peak performance. Dr. Naumov opens this chapter with a challenge to something most adults simply accept. Most adults, he writes, accept declining energy, increasing pain, and reduced capacity as inevitable consequences of aging, never realizing that these problems represent predictable responses to structural compromise and nervous system interference. Your body, he argues, possesses the same geometric intelligence and electromagnetic healing capacity at 40, 50, or 60 that it demonstrated in your youth. Accessing it simply requires understanding how adult stresses affect your structural integrity. The medical system, he writes, treats adult health problems as random diseases that strike unpredictably, missing, in his view, the connection between structural health and every aspect of physical and mental performance. You are the medicine, he writes, and your adult body contains sophisticated systems that can create extraordinary health and vitality when structural interference is removed and optimal conditions are restored. End quote. Dr. Naumov writes that your adult nervous system faces demands exceeding anything from childhood or adolescence. Sustained mental focus at work, combined with family obligations, financial pressure, and social expectation that create chronic stress patterns your body was never designed to handle for extended periods. Work-related stress, he explains, is particularly damaging because it combines mental pressure with physical positioning that forces your spine into compromised alignment for 8 to 12 hours daily, while preventing the movement your nervous system needs for optimal function. Your body, he writes, responds to work stress through the same pathways used for physical threats. Hormonal cascades designed for short-term survival, not chronic activation. Family responsibilities, he says, add another layer, requiring emotional regulation and mental focus even when your resources are already depleted by work. Financial pressure creates chronic worry that activates stress systems continuously while providing no physical outlet to help process and resolve stress hormones. And social media and information overload, he argues, force your brain to process more information in a day than previous generations encountered in weeks. The sedentary nature of modern adult life, Dr. Naumov writes, prevents the development of strong postural muscles, allowing deep stabilizers to weaken while superficial muscles become chronically tight, creating structural imbalance. Sleep quality deteriorates under chronic stress, he adds, while electromagnetic pollution from devices interferes further with natural sleep architecture. The cumulative effect, he argues, is a state of chronic adaptation that exhausts your body's reserves, showing up as the declining energy, increasing pain, and reduced mental clarity that most adults simply accept as normal aging. Dr. Naumov's next section explores what he calls survival mode. Chronic stress, he writes, creates measurable changes in your spinal alignment and postural patterns, locking your nervous system into a state that prevents the relaxed conditions necessary for optimal digestion, immune function, healing, and regeneration. Forward head posture, he explains, represents your body's attempt to maintain vigilance for environmental threats. But this protective positioning creates enormous mechanical stress on your cervical vertebrae, interfering with pathways that control heart rate, breathing, digestion, and sleep. Elevated shoulders and neck tension, he writes, prepare your arms for defensive action while compressing the thoracic spine and interfering with pathways governing lung function and heart rhythm. Your lower back, he explains, responds to chronic stress with increased tension and altered movement, protecting vital organs while creating compression that interferes with pathways controlling elimination and lower extremity coordination. Survival mode physiology, Dr. Naumov argues, prioritizes immediate survival over long-term health, shutting down growth and repair, immune optimization, and reproductive function, while maintaining heightened alertness that consumes enormous energy without producing useful work. Digestive function suffers, he writes, as blood flow diverts toward muscles and sensory systems. Immune function deteriorates. Sleep architecture becomes disrupted, preventing the deep phases when growth hormone releases and tissue repairs. The cognitive effects, he adds, include reduced mental clarity and impaired memory, what many adults attribute to normal aging, but which Dr. Naumov frames instead as a consequence of chronic nervous system dysfunction that responds to intervention. Dr. Naumov then turns to what he calls the technology posture epidemic, a set of claims worth walking through with the actual numbers he cites. The average adult, he writes, checks their smartphone over 150 times a day, spending more than 5 hours with their head tilted forward and shoulders rounded. Forward head posture, he explains, increases the effective weight of your head dramatically as it moves away from its optimal position over your shoulders, forcing your cervical spine to support loads it was never designed to handle, and creating up to 60 pounds of additional stress on your neck. Computer workstations compound this, he writes, combining forward head posture with elevated shoulders and a rounded upper back that compresses the thoracic spine. The electromagnetic fields generated by your devices, he argues, add further interference with your body's natural bioelectric systems. Traditional ergonomic solutions, Dr. Naumov writes, fall short in his view because they focus on positioning rather than the deeper problem, that your spine and nervous system require movement and variation, making even a perfectly ergonomic, static position problematic if held too long. The muscle imbalances that follow, he explains, include weakened deep neck flexors, alongside overactive superficial neck and upper trapezius muscles, pulling your spine out of alignment and creating trigger points that interfere with normal movement. Breathing becomes shallower, he writes, as rounded shoulders restrict rib cage expansion. Cervical misalignment, he argues, can affect blood flow to the brain, contributing to headaches and mental fog. And thoracic outlet syndrome, he notes, can develop when forward posture compresses the nerves and vessels supplying your arms and hands. The postural changes from technology use, Dr. Naumov writes, ripple through your entire kinetic chain: head, neck, thoracic spine, lower back, pelvis, and legs, demonstrating how a localized problem becomes a system-wide one. Addressing it, he argues, requires more than ergonomic furniture. Specific corrective exercise, movement practices, electromagnetic hygiene, and genuine limits on technology exposure. In the final section, Dr. Naumov lays out what he calls reclaiming your prime, his framework for adult restoration. Spinal rehabilitation for adults, he writes, must address both mechanical restriction and the neurological dysfunction that compromises coordination and healing. This is where he brings back the Somato technique from earlier in the book, arguing it's particularly effective for adults because it targets the geometric distortions that accumulate over years of structural stress. Corrective exercise, he explains, should focus on restoring balanced movement patterns rather than simply strengthening weak muscles or stretching tight ones, since adult dysfunction typically involves multiple compensations that need to be addressed together. Core stabilization matters especially, he writes, because deep postural muscles often become inhibited after years of poor posture and chronic stress. Movement quality, he argues, should take priority over movement quantity, correcting faulty patterns before increasing activity level. Nutritional support should target the specific deficiencies that develop during chronic stress, with particular attention to anti-inflammatory nutrition, since ongoing structural stress creates inflammation that interferes with healing. Stress management, he writes, needs to address both external stresses and the internal stress response itself, building resilience to the stresses that are simply part of adult life, rather than trying to eliminate them entirely. Sleep optimization and reducing environmental stresses like electromagnetic interference and chemical toxins round out his framework. Most adults, Dr. Naumov writes, begin noticing improvements in energy, sleep, and pain within weeks of beginning comprehensive structural care, with deeper changes continuing over months. Ongoing maintenance, he adds, matters too, since the stresses of adult life don't stop. They simply keep testing whatever progress you've made. Dr. Naumov closes this chapter with a recap and a set of action steps. Adult health challenges, he reminds you, come from the unique combination of work, family, and lifestyle stress that overwhelms your adaptive capacity and locks your body into survival mode. The technology posture epidemic affects virtually every adult, rippling through your entire structure. But declining function, he argues, is not an inevitable consequence of aging. It's a predictable result of accumulated dysfunction that can be addressed. He offers several action steps you can begin today. First, schedule a comprehensive structural assessment with a chiropractor trained in the Somato technique, adult spinal rehabilitation, and nervous system optimization. Second, assess your current stress load across work, family, and financial pressure, and lifestyle factors using a simple rating system to identify where to focus first. Third, implement immediate technology hygiene. Set specific times for device use, position screens at eye level, take movement breaks every 30 minutes during computer work, and create technology-free zones in your home. Fourth, build a personalized movement program targeting core stabilization and postural rebalancing, prioritizing quality over quantity as you progress. Fifth, optimize your sleep environment and habits, creating electromagnetic sanctuary conditions and consistent sleep schedules that support your natural circadian rhythm. Sixth, develop stress management strategies that build nervous system coherence and resilience to the unavoidable stresses of adult life. And seventh, support your recovery nutritionally with a focus on anti-inflammatory foods and adequate resources for tissue repair, while tracking your progress through energy, sleep, pain, and functional capacity over time. Remember, Dr. Naumov writes that you are the medicine, and your adult body contains the same geometric intelligence and electromagnetic healing capacity that can create extraordinary health and vitality when structural interference is removed and optimal conditions are restored.
That's episode 8.
Of You Are the Medicine. If this episode gave you a new way to think about your own energy and vitality, do 3 things right now. Hit like, drop a comment, and tell us which action step you're starting with. And share this with someone who needs to hear it. Subscribe to the channel and turn on that notification bell. Episode 9 is coming next. Until then, remember who you are. You are not aging out of vitality. You are not broken. You are the medicine. We'll see you in the next episode.